guys so much for tuning in to the very first episode of Behind the Art. I'm so excited that you guys have decided to tune into the show today. I really wanted to create a show like this because I love artwork. And so many times I see artists promoting their artwork, and I just think that the artwork is so beautiful. I want to get to know the artist even more. And so I know that some of you all might want to get to know the artist as well. So that's why I created this show. If this is your first time ever tuning in to one of my shows, thank you so much for tuning in. The way that this show works is all of the contact information of the artist is in the description box. Another thing that we need you to do is make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more individuals will know about our artists on the show today, as well as the pieces that they actually can offer to individuals individuals, and so that they can know about this show, because I know that there's plenty of artists out there that would like to promote their own pieces, and so this is a platform that will allow them to do that. Another thing that we need you to do is we need you to go to our Facebook pages and follow and like those pages so you will always be notified of the different things that we promote. Me personally, I promote my shows. Our artist on the show today, he promotes his pieces as well. So without further ado, I would like to introduce to you all artist Vondell Green. And I thank you so much, Vondell, for being on the show today.
Thank you for the opportunity.
So Vondell, if you could just let our viewers know a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I went to Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts, and that's where I studied fine art, and I learned to paint and to draw under some very established artists, because all the teachers at Duke Ellington, all the teachers at all the schools that I went to was always working artists.
Okay.
But at Duke Ellington, all the teachers were actual artists. So I learned a lot from actual artists that were working in the field, painters and designers and sculptors. And then I also went to the Art Institute of Washington out of Roslyn. And I learned about graphic design. And I learned a lot about typography and all. You know, I didn't ever find any interest in words when I was doing artwork, but now all of a sudden I find a lot of interest in words. Letters and words are art in themselves. So I learned a lot from my teacher. So, you know, a lot of that's in me. And then I'm dealing with, I'm bipolar. So I express a lot of my mental health stuff through my artwork.
Okay.
My kids live with autism. So I work to express, you know, a lot of different emotions through the things that I do. And I speak to a lot of different subjects. I tend to have most of my art teachers were women.
Okay.
So I'm really into patterns. I'm really into a lot of things that you would tend to not see a male artist be interested in.
Okay.
So I got different interests, and I'm very subject oriented.
And we're going to touch on those things a little bit more. And I see that we have some additional people watching. Make sure that you just let us know that you're in the virtual house. Just say hello to myself and Vondell and just let us know that you're here. Make sure that you also go ahead and share this video now so that more individuals will know about Vondell and his artwork. So I know that you mentioned that you're bipolar. How does that help you with your pieces that you paint?
That's an interesting question, because one part of being bipolar is being manic. And I get really where I stay up all night working on a piece, so I won't stop working on a piece until I finish a piece. Or sometimes I do a piece, I draw one image 3 or 4 different times because of my fixation on the image. So it helps me to concentrate a lot.
Okay. And what does manic mean? What does that mean? Or describe to us, what does that look like to somebody that's never experienced a manic person before?
Where you have a lot more energy than average, than normally. And you might not go to sleep. You might not feel tired, you know.
So you have an advantage over. So anytime that I need some of my videos edited, then I can ask you to do it, since you could just stay up all night and you got that energy.
Sure, I can.
I be so tired. I be like, I gotta get this done, but I'm tired.
Yeah,
So
it serves as an advantage. You know, everything is an advantage and a disadvantage. So you work through those things as you do your artwork, and that helps define you and define your character as an artist.
yeah, and I think that that was so good that you mentioned that you're bipolar, because I was listening to an interview with Kanye West, and he was talking about how he's bipolar. It's either bipolar or schizophrenic, one of those. And he was just saying how that really just helps him. Say what did you just say?
He's bipolar.
Okay, so he said that that really helps him in his creativity, and he said he was just diagnosed with it probably like two years ago. And so I just thought that that's just a blessing that he's letting individuals know that he is bipolar, and how somebody that is bipolar as well, how it can help them to their advantage, you know, if they are that creative type as well. So I just think that that's excellent. So,
Yes.
oh, go ahead.
No, I was just saying, yes, it's an advantage and a disadvantage, and you got to be careful. You know, it's a mental health disorder, so you got to pay attention to what you're doing and
Definitely
take your medication if that's what you need to do. And do whatever other things that the therapists or other people might prescribe. But yes, when you study artwork, I'm also I love art history. So if you look at artwork and artists, a lot of artists have had mental health disorders. So it's not uncommon. It's actually very common.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, it's very common for artists to have mental health issues and things of the sort, and it to be an advantage, but yet a disadvantage. So you got to pay attention to both. Get the advantages. Yeah, I get manic, but then you have a letdown. You feel real low. So you got to manage yourself through all those things, and then as an artist, you want to continue to create through both.
Yeah.
So definitely. I try to create when I'm feeling high and perky, and I try to create when I'm feeling a little low, because the artwork expresses itself differently.
So can you actually see the difference in the types of artwork that you create when you are in those high moments and low moments?
Truly, yes, I can. And then I have I might go into a little mute. You know, when I get anxiety or something, I might go a little mute, and I like to keep a sketchbook with me. And when I did is I tossed images, photographs into my sketchbook that I like to draw, that I find emotional connection to. And when I feel isolated, I open my sketchbook and just start drawing the images. And I notice that I draw a lot with a lot more clarity than I would in the house with the 3 kids running around, and all that stuff going on. All of a sudden, even in a space with a lot of people going on, like in a church, with a lot of people going on, it's music and everything. If I open my sketchbook and I feel isolated, I draw with clarity. That's also a symptom. It's not manic, but it's a bit isolation, where you sort of isolate from the situation and go into yourself instead of the space you're in. You know, sometimes a space my children live with autism. And sometimes when you're in a space with a lot of sound and a lot of people around and a lot of stuff going on, the easiest thing for you to do when you're dealing with mental health things is to shut off and isolate. And it's easy for me to look into a piece of paper or into a sketchbook and a picture and isolate from everything else. So I don't hear anything else. I don't see anything else. All I see is the lines on the picture. And it makes it easy. I don't know. I used to go to the galleries in Washington, D.C. As I said, I studied at Duke Ellington School of Performing Arts in Georgetown. And I used to often go to the galleries. My teachers at Duke Ellington took us to the galleries for different activities, but I went to the galleries just to sit and draw, because that space with all those people moving around, it creates a different energy. Just like going out into the woods and painting would create a different energy. Definitely. So as an artist, I really vibe off different energies, whether I'm happy, whether I'm sad, whether I'm in an open space, whether I'm in a city landscape. All those things communicate to me differently and they influence my art.
That's good. That's good. And another thing about this show, you all, this is actually a virtual art show. So we're just not going to be talking to Vondell. We're actually going to be seeing his pieces as well. So we're going to look at Queen of Nambia, and we'll talk to Vondell a little bit more about this particular piece. So Vondell, if you can just let the viewers know, what inspired you with this particular piece?
Well, my inspiration came from a photograph of a woman from another country, and she had a head wrap on. It looked, maybe it looked dirty or looked old. So I found another picture with a woman who had a really beautiful head wrap on, and I combined the two pictures.
Okay.
And this actual image that we're looking at is a replica of the original, which was done in oil pastel. This image that we're looking at is a digital image done in Illustrator using gradient mesh.
Why did you decide to actually create this portrait of Obama with, because a lot of people, when he was the president, so many people were doing paintings of him. Why did you decide to do a portrait of him as well?
The portrait come from me going to the inauguration. It was in 2008. It was very, very cold outside. I live in Washington, D.C., so I was able to make it to the inauguration of Barack Obama. There was a lot of people outside. It was very congested.
Yeah.
I'm a little bit afraid of crowd mentality, but it was a little bit of that going on. People pushing. It was. I mean, you had no space to move to and fro at the inauguration for Barack Obama. And from the inauguration, him being the first Black president, I did a series of portraits of Barack Obama. This is the largest portrait I did of him, but I did a series of portraits of him.
Okay.
And I felt like it was just a special moment. Yeah. And I felt like, it should have been memorialized by looking at the moment for what the moment was. Just, doing artwork about the moment.
Okay.
Versus just artwork, because most of all of the pictures that I did of Barack Obama were before he was elected the president of the United States. I didn't do any pictures of him after he was elected president. They were all on while he was campaigning and, promotional pictures.
Okay. Okay. So now I know that are you still looking for an art gallery to possibly promote your paintings as well?
Yes.
Okay.
I am.
And what city and state do you currently live in?
In Maryland.
Okay.
Capitol Heights.
Okay. What materials did you use to paint this portrait?
Well, this is actually a photograph of a painting that was done on canvas, and it was done in acrylic.
Okay.
One of my favorite mediums. And it's just a composition. It's an observation of the color in the photograph and in the details of just Barack Obama at a young age.
Okay.
Like I said, all these portraits were done before he started getting a lot of gray hairs after he was president. So I didn't realize that I was doing pictures of him at a young age in the light that we see him at the present day, but I was.
Okay. And you all, if you're just now tuning into the show, you're watching Behind the Art with Martinique. And the artist we have today is Vondell Green. All of his portraits are available for purchase, and he's able to ship them nationwide as well. Vondell's contact information is listed in the description box. If you're tuning into the show, make sure you go ahead and share this video now so that more individuals will know about our featured artist today. So how did you actually build up the confidence in creating your artwork and exposing it for criticism?
Oh. building me expressing my artwork, to me, it's almost like it's instead of me talking to you, a lot of times I'd rather not talk. I'd rather my artwork speak for me. So
Right.
that's exactly why. I mean, and how did I have the confidence to do such? I don't have the confidence. A lot of us are courageous beyond ourselves, and that's a lot of times what you need to do when you're doing art or poetry. Because I rap and I do poetry also, and I do comedy. So a lot of times you're being courageous beyond yourself. So I don't know how I build up the courage, but definitely I need to express different messages. You know, just like I did a picture about water, and I'm doing a series about water.
Okay.
And you know, people need water. In third world countries, water is a humongous issue.
Right.
You know, and it's an issue to them, and they don't live where we live at. Of course, we live in America. We don't have to worry about water, but the other people's issues feel like they're my issues. A lot of times when I get an opportunity to express myself, you know.
Yeah,
Women's issues can become my issues. You know, again, I told you most of my artist teachers were women. You know, and I had a teacher who at Duke Ellington who was suffering from cancer. You know, she came to teach us with a wig on and things like that. But she was just always so happy, so positive, so encouraging. So a lot of strong women encourage me to do artwork. So when you ask me how do I build the courage, maybe that might have something to do with it.
Definitely. But you know, a lot of times, you know, creative individuals create things that are important to them. And so when we hear criticism, a lot of times people will say, oh, you know, they may say, take it as a grain of salt, or they may say things like, oh, well, you know, don't worry about it. But it's so hard to ignore the criticism because this came from you. So it's a part of you. How do you not allow the criticism from individuals to stop you from, you know, expressing yourself as an artist?
Well, I got to speak on this question as I'm an artist and I'm also a graphic designer. So as a graphic designer, I learned other tools and criticism. Some criticism is good.
Right.
You know, we always had as artists, you have critiques, but they didn't really teach you how to critique until I became a graphic designer, because saying I like something isn't a good critique. So you want people to be articulate about what they see or don't see in your work.
That's good.
And if that's called criticism, there's a such thing as good and constructive criticism, and there's a such thing as destructive criticism. You know, yeah, I would say that. You know,
That's
people
good.
can say things that might be hurtful to you about your artwork. You know, their criticism might be like, well, you probably shouldn't do artwork, or this is trash. That's not constructive. But there's a such thing as constructive criticism, like your colors aren't strong enough. You know what I'm saying? Like your lines or your lines aren't strong, or the anatomy and the images of that you're doing of humans isn't accurate anatomy. Those are constructive criticisms. And I find those criticisms to be helpful. You know, I think confrontation is a good thing. You know, a lot of people don't like being confronted, but something I learned along the way of dealing with all of my life, my upbringing, is that confrontation is a good thing. So if somebody tells you that you need to work harder at what you're doing, you need to work harder at what you're doing, you got to listen to who gave you the criticism. That's and right. A lot of times if it was coming from teachers, when I, you know, first learned artwork, you get criticism from your teachers first and right off. And, you know, and I always got accolades from my teachers. But when I got criticism as a 15-year-old, I rejected it. But in hindsight, I always retrospect back to those criticisms as tools to help me grow.
Definitely.
So people being critical, a lot of time people showing you love on your artwork may just say, oh, it looks great. But somebody showing you love may also be saying, well, you need to work harder at that. That don't look accurate to me. So I think that's a good thing,
That's
especially
good.
for a young artist. And it's good to learn how to accept criticism in the right way, especially constructive criticism. As I
Yeah.
said, it could be constructive criticism and just things that's counterproductive to being productive.
And we actually have a question on the floor. Hey, Rachel. So Rachel asked, how long did it take you to complete um, the Obama one and Queen of Nambia that we've seen already?
Well, Queen of Nambia was created in a manic moment, so I created it very fast.
Okay.
I used oil pastel, which was a new medium to me, and I
Uh-huh.
created it very fast. I was living in foster care at the moment, so I was
Mm.
in a foreign space. So I did a little bit of that a mutism, and I isolated very much so. So I didn't hear anything. Wasn't. I was in a different space, so I created it almost in an instant. I wasn't thinking much. As soon as I looked at the photographs, I merged the photographs together and didn't even think about it.
Mm-hmm.
So
So
it was really manic.
so what
And
about the Obama? Obama.
it was a thought out process. As I
Okay.
said, I went to the inauguration, so I collected several pictures, and that was the picture that I decided to do a large composition of. The actual painting that I took a photograph of is like 56 by 40, something like that. It's a large painting. So it's a larger painting. So it was a different process. And I paid a lot of attention to odd details like the dots on his tie, trying to
Mm.
make sure they lined up. And it was a different process. And as I said, when I did that picture, I paid a lot of attention to the color, the lighting of the picture. So that was one of the things that I thought it was a bright picture. So I wanted to make sure that I communicated that with my color.
Mm-hmm.
It was I thought it could be also considered a boring picture. So I paid a lot of attention to the color communication to make sure the colors match the colors in the mood that I wanted to create. Because in a lot of ways, I'm an impressionist.
Mm-hmm.
You know, impressionism communicates through my artwork because I like to create a mood. You
Okay.
know, if the mood is a somber mood, I want to create a somber mood. If it's
Mm-hmm.
a sad mood, I want to create a sad mood. So a lot of times my colors help communicate my mood. In that picture, it was a mood of hopefulness, of positive spirit surrounding Barack Obama moving into the presidency. And
Mm-hmm.
I felt like I was focusing on capturing that positive energy.
We have another question from Rachel. She said, how did you learn to price your pieces? That's good. Rachel, look at you, girl. That's a good question.
Well, I learned from studying a lot of different pricing systems. It's actually a book about pricing in graphic design. As I said,
Really?
moving into graphic design opens you up to a whole different plethora of resources.
Mm-hmm.
And one of the resources is the pricing guide for how to price stuff. And what I learned, not just from the pricing guide, which I didn't even look at, I just looked at somebody to talk about, but I learned about the whole concept of you got to watch how you price yourself to people. You know, you don't want to outprice yourself to people and make things that you're selling out of range of people. You want to make it accessible, but you also want to get what you're worth. So I learned a lot about that. And then learning about printing, print production was a very important class that I took in graphic in at the Art Institute of Washington for graphic design. And print production is about how to reproduce your artwork digitally. And once I learned how to reproduce my artwork digitally, I realized I can create an original and I can create prints, not lithography prints, which is very expensive, or other prints. It's a lot of very expensive prints. I don't know all the different types of prints, but it's a lot of different types of prints. And most of the print types are expensive. It's a direct, I actually took canvases that I painted and took them onto like a Xerox machine. You know how
Okay.
you got a Xerox machine, you put a piece of paper on and
Yeah.
you Xerox it, the little light go across it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's something that's huge. It's a huge thing. It's like 45 by 50.
Okay.
And it's called, you can put your canvases on there and it's called direct contact print. It's
Okay.
expensive though. There's so many different types of printing, but digital printing is completely different. Digital printing is very, very inexpensive.
Can I tell you something, Vondell? So you are just introducing so many things to me. And so I know people are going to be catching this on the replay. I'm going to have to catch this on the replay, because I did not know that side of the digital, reproduction of your artwork.
Yes,
I
that's
knew
what
that you could
graphic
purchase
design.
it, but I did not know how it
Graphic
worked.
design introduced a lot of history about art. Graphic design and art are one and the same, and we separate them. But remember, the computer came into the world, right? So art isn't the same as art was in the past. So digital production and painting is all one and the same. We separate them, but they're not separate. I didn't know it until I got introduced to graphic design. Once I start learning the concepts of everything, I'm like, this is art. And then they started telling me a little bit of history about artists and them making money. And when I realized that artists made a whole different type of money once the ability to reproduce your artwork became cheaper, artists were able to sell artwork cheaper.
Mm-hmm.
If you got to pay $100 or $200 to make a reproduction of something, a piece, if you got to pay $100 to make a reproduction a piece, of course you're going to charge a certain amount. But if you only got to pay $2 to reproduce something, oh my goodness. Now you ready to charge $25 for something. At first you was really trying to ask for $200 for it. Now that's a change. That's a dramatic change from 200 to 25, just because of the investment you had to put in.
Okay, so to get this straight, so the actual canvas that you paint, this is just my thinking. The canvas that you actually painted, that's going to, of course, be more expensive, but the reproduction prints are going to be less expensive because, like you said, you're just reproducing it. You can take it to the copier and make a copy of it.
Yes.
What will, if somebody says, Vondell, I want to purchase Queen of Nambia, what will they be received? Will they have to just let you know, okay, Vondell, I want the print, or would they just say, I want the original? Or do you not even have the original anymore?
No, I do have the originals of everything, but I wasn't offering the original at the price that I was pricing it at.
But right now, so if somebody's watching this show and they say, Vondell, I want to purchase Queen of Nambia, are you selling the prints and the original right now?
I am selling the prints and the original, but the price that I quoted was for the prints.
Okay, so the 175. Gotcha. Okay. Okay. So all of Vondell's contact information is in the description box. If you would like to purchase the original, just go ahead and message him or send him an email and just let him know that you're interested in inquiring how much the original cost is. Rachel also said, this is such great information. I appreciate your candor and your honesty about all of this, because so many people, they may even want to get into this field, but they have no idea, how to price it, how to do the reproduction and, do the prints and things like that. So I know that you actually touched on paintings of different scenes of water. So let's go ahead and look at your painting called Girl Drinking Water. What inspired you to even create this, this storyboard of portraits of water for yourself?
Oh, it's funny. The Jehovah's Witness come and they knock on your door early in the morning. They be like, bang, bang. And you be like, okay, hello. And I've been teaching Sunday school for like 10 years, and I'm a Christian, and I go to a Baptist church. But anyway, they come knocking on your door. But they have these pamphlets that they hand to you. And they handed me an awake pamphlet, a little book. And on the cover of the book was this picture. And instead of me just discarding the book, I usually read through, I like graphic design, so I tend to read stuff and find out what the story is, especially the cover story. And when I read the cover story, I found intrigue in it, not only the image, but the story about water and how it's so much of an issue to other people and not so much of an issue to us Americans. So I found it important to do the image, and I've done other images of people in other from other countries and in other countries in their relationship with water. And this is a young girl who walks to a faucet that has water to get her water. This is how she drinks her water. This is her only access to water. So it's a different relationship to water than we have, than we know, as being American. So
how do you choose your colors specifically for this portrait?
I chose my colors to make the picture dynamic, to make it rich, because maybe the subject is intense to me. So I wanted to not make the colors look flat, but I wanted to make the colors look rich and intense and engage you a bit more. And water, the picture, one of the other focuses of the picture is motion, because you couldn't draw this picture. If I saw this in reality, I wouldn't be able to draw it. So kudos to the photographer who took the picture, because the picture captures motion. And that's something that as an artist that I find intriguing, somebody falling, somebody jumping, because it's not something that I can't just stop and draw somebody falling or draw somebody jumping or draw water dripping. So it's very intriguing to me. Once a photographer captures that and I see the photograph, and this particular subject touched my heart. So it wasn't just the water, but it was the motion. I think motion attracted me to the picture. Okay. Because I've seen other pictures that had water, but I hadn't seen other pictures that had motion.
So now we're going to look at your portrait of Bob Marley. So talk to us about this one, because I know many of artists have drawn and created Bob Marley. So what inspired you to actually do this portrait of him?
Well, I have a personal connection with, I haven't been out of the country of America other than going to Jamaica for one time, because for somebody's wedding shower or wedding or something, but it was very fun. And I really enjoyed that space and those people. And early on, when I was younger, I dreaded my hair. I don't have dreads right now, but my wife.
Okay, I'm rocking them for you.
Okay, my wife rocking them too. But yeah, I really like dreadlocks, and I think I've been inspired recently. I did another picture of Bob Marley, and it's inspired me to do a series of dreads. You know what I'm saying? So I want to do another series. I know you don't really see too many dreadlocks in this, but it's just that Rasta feel that I was looking at and the energy of Bob Marley. Bob Marley seemed to be a very peaceful man, and he stood for a lot of different things. So this image just helped me to connect with a lot of different things that I was getting from him. Not just being he's like a big brother or something. He's a little older than I was. He's not here with us right now, but I'm just saying he's one of my role models that I look up to. So me being able to portray him in the light that I saw him was important to me also, because there's a lot of different pictures of Bob Marley. You got pictures of Bob Marley smoking something, and that's just not the image. That's not how I saw him. Okay. When I saw him playing soccer in his little music video, I'm like, that's what I see. I see this guy with a lot of children who's a loving man and who loves music and loves to communicate through music. And I thought this picture capitalized on the fact that he's just the average Joe who likes to communicate through music. Yeah. And he was just so talented. But he wasn't not an abnormality. He was just like us,
Right. Do you do custom portraits of individuals if they request them of you?
Yes. I love doing portraits.
Okay. That's good. So now I thought that this was a very unique portrait that we're about to see, and it's called Space Boy. So talk to us about this portrait here. What inspired you to come up with this particular piece?
Well, we spoke a little bit about mental health, and I also do abstract artwork, and a lot of times with abstract artwork, the colors may be most important, you know, because they express emotion and they express how you feel in the shapes and things of the sort. So this picture was just me expressing myself, you know, in a very primitive mode, which I find to be helpful and more expressive a lot of times. You know, I like to do objective work. I like to look at things and make things right and make things perfect and things, but it's also another part of me that likes to make things not right, make things not perfect. And abstract work creates the opportunity for me to even make things. I create rigid abstract work that seems very geometric, and this in itself is more of an organic piece of abstract work, where things are not geometric, where things are referencing nature, referencing life, but still breaking from the pattern of what space and what things would look like in a normal context. So I find that important to be able to connect to, you know, I make a reference to a spider web in this image. I make a reference to a blooming flower in this image. I make reference to lightning. I make reference to a child, you know, but the child doesn't look like a human. He looks like he's from another planet.
Yeah.
But yet and still. And then I also make reference to as I said, the mental health piece is involved here because of his expression. He doesn't look happy. He doesn't look sad. You try to connect with whatever emotion, or is that a person? But you know, those are the things that I try to capitalize on here. Instead of me focusing in on how objective I could be and how much I could reference nature, you know, I try not to reference nature, but so much in these type of compositions, because it's more of me expressing myself in a raw sense.
Yeah. And so are you able to ship all your pieces around the United States, correct? I just want to throw
Yes.
that out there.
Yes, I am. Yes, yes.
For our viewers. So I do want to thank you, Vondell, for being on the show and just allowing us to tap into a little bit more about your world as an artist and what really inspired you um, for your paintings, and really just helping us become more knowledgeable about the reproduction sides of your prints as well. So now, if you're interested in staying in contact with Vondell or purchasing any of his pieces that you saw, you're able to contact him through his website, his Facebook page. He's also on Instagram as well, and his email is listed as well. You can actually see all of his pieces on his website. So make sure you guys go ahead and check that out. Also, make sure that you continue to share this video. Also, I would love for you to subscribe to my YouTube channel, and the link is in the description box. And again, I thank you all for watching another episode of Behind the Art with Martinique, and you all have a great day. Bye-bye.